All right, it's now time to take a look at some of the week's stories that impact branding and brands. Branding expert and host of the Chatter That Matters podcast, Tony Chapman, joins us virtually. Tony, great to see you.
Always great to see you. I feel like Bill on remote.
Exactly. Yeah, Bill's been on remote a little bit here. But, Tony, we've got to talk about this. We've talked about Victoria Mboko for the last couple of weeks, really, as her run at the NBO continues here. I'm wondering if you could give us a sense, Tony, of the opportunity that Victoria Mboko has and Tennis Canada has, too, in terms of endorsements, where things could go from here. Looking at the success of Jeannie Bouchard, Leila Annie Fernandez, and, of course, Bianca Andreescu over the last decade or so. What could lie ahead for her with the success she's seeing now?
Well, the best advice I'd say is learn from the past. There's no doubt sponsors are going to climb in. She represents everything you want in a spokesperson. And she's got diversity, she's female, she's got championship qualities. But what's the most important thing is invest in the long game. She has to stay focused on tennis. And what we've learned from the past is when too many sponsors climb on board, they're not just writing a check, they're demanding access to her. They want her to appear at their conferences. They want her to be modeling their clothes. So my sense would be surround yourself with a great business team, focus on the long term, still take advantage of monetizing the energy that you have now, but really let sponsors know that you're investing in the journey, not the moment.
Yeah, that's a really good advice, Tony. Focus on the tennis first and foremost, and we're really hoping she's going to win tonight against Naomi Osaka. I mean, what a dream scenario for the National Bank Open.
It really is, yeah.
for this in their women's final. Moving on to another sport, baseball. We've seen the Blue Jays, reach the top of the AL East, and they seem to be on a roll again, having a bit of a comeback after that minor slump. What do you think of their brand and how they can kind of capitalize on this moment that they're having when stadiums are sold out, filled with fans?
Well, when the Blue Jays adopted dynamic pricing, it has certain advantages for fans. If you happen to find, willing to go to the game, a team you're not really excited about, a day that really doesn't pack the stadium, you can get a pretty good deal. But when your team is hot and every game is special, especially this time of the year, dynamic pricing really works to the disadvantage of the fans. So what we're seeing in sports more than anything else, if I've got a winning team, I'm going to mine it to the maximum possibilities. I know I'm going to sell at the stadium. I know scalpers are having a field day with my product. Why shouldn't I capitalize on it? The problem being, obviously, is the fans remember. And all of a sudden, that team that I supported for the last 10 years and I could afford to go and see is no longer available to me within the discretionary money I have. That can be a serious blowback. And my advice to the Blue Jays is let's raise the banners before we get too excited about raising ticket prices.
Well, yeah, and that's what I wanted to get at, because you said, Tony, fans remember, and that's definitely true, right? Fans, especially if you've cheered on the team for a few years, bless you, Jen.
Sorry.
You paid maybe $30-$40 for a ticket, but now you're looking $80, $90, $100. If you don't win in the postseason, if you don't really deliver on really what's the sort of ultimate promise or goal, are fans going to come back the next season?
Well, it happened to me. I was a Raptors season ticket holder. And, when they started going on the run and got into the playoffs, all of a sudden the seat that I could afford was unaffordable. And I'm going, how could the fan that supported your team through a lot of bad years, now because you're winning, I have to pay the premium for it? And that really frustrated me. And one of the reasons I sold my season tickets, saying this is not a partner that I feel that deserves my loyalty. And that's the trouble with sports. And the thing about sports is if I build it, fans will come, therefore I can charge whatever I want for it. And I with today, with discretionary income, with the economy the way it is, I think it's a very narrow tightrope that brands like the Blue Jays are running. Of course, we're excited this year. We're hoping they go for a playoff win. But we know how hard it is to sustain that, to have a legacy that every year you're going to be delivering the same product. So that's, again, what I say. Really, yes, you want to take advantage of how good your product is today, but play the long game.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe offer more, hot dogs or other things, but don't raise those ticket prices and, single out your fan base and the audiences that have been supporting you. Really good advice, Tony.
Toronto's such a head office city. When you price yourself out of the average fan, and you just rely on corporations and even the energy within the stadium is different. I know when I first came from Montreal to Toronto, I went to hockey games. And the half the stadium was empty, after the beginning of every period because they were socializing downstairs. I think part of a live sports event is saying it's accessible to everybody. That's why you put a team out in your city, and you got to make sure your ticket prices reflect that. And when it stops reflecting that, and you become sort of exclusive versus inclusive, I think your brand very quickly disappears from that fan base that we all want a city to have. We want a city to celebrate the team, not just the people that can afford to celebrate.
Yeah. Totally. Okay, Tony Chapman, marketing and brand expert, also host of the Chatter That Matters podcast. We miss you, Tony. Hope to see you in person next week.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Sounds good, Tony. Take care.
Tony.